Christmas holidays are a time for togetherness, for reconnecting with friends and family.
Yes, friends and family, that was who those people were that were hanging around while I was reading.
You're not a real social being, are you, Al?
They're called priorities, Sonya. There have been a lot of good collected editions that have come out recently, and they deserve due attention.
Yes, I cannot disagree with you on that one, and I will admit quite a few people went to voicemail while I was reading the first hardcover on our list. The second volume of Blacksad, written by Juan Diaz Canales, with art by Juanjo Guanido.
Yeah, having deeply loved the first volume, I was excited to jump into this one. John Blacksad, the toughest feline private eye in the business, finds himself in New Orleans, caught up in a case drenched with booze, drugs, jazz, and monkey voodoo.
For my money, this volume is just as good as the first one, although significantly shorter. But there's a lovely selection of production notes and sketchbook images that fill the hardcover out nicely. And Guanido's artwork is as beautiful as ever, really nailing the feeling of the Big Easy in the 1950s. You can almost smell the gumbo bubbling. This is an unqualified buy.
Yeah, absolutely. It has to be a buy from me as well. The story is darkly brilliant, and every panel is a joy to lose yourself in. Now, next up, we take a look at a recently released trade collection of an image title, Nowhere Men, written by Eric Stevenson with art by Nate Belgard.
I'll admit that after reading the first issue, I did decide to sit back and wait for the trade. It's a very intriguing story, but can also be a little dense and a little confusing. Don't get me wrong, I actually think that's part of its charm, but I did want to wait till I had that whole picture before I started this.
Yeah, look, I can see what you're saying. There's a real effort put into world building for this story, and it can take a while to immerse yourself in it. We're introduced at the start to four men who have turned science into the new rock and roll. Dade Ellis, Simon Grimshaw, Emerson Strange, and Thomas Walker.
And then we begin hopping backwards and forwards in time, seeing the world change and warp as the smartest men in it begin to turn on one another. As ethics fall away, mutant gorillas and human testing on an orbiting space station takes centre stage.
Now, I'm a big fan of the super science focus in this story, but I do think the development of superpowers in the crew of the space station just didn't match the originality that I was seeing in the rest of the story.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, that is something that we've seen before. And the characters are all really believable, and the story's given some really nice context with those magazine articles and interviews throughout. Plus, the art style, really effective. So I'm still going to give this one a buy.
Yeah, fair enough. I think maybe I was just expecting too much based on that first issue. It's still a really well put together story and well worthy of a buy.
Absolutely. Now, it wouldn't be a collected edition roundup if we didn't take a look at least one event series. In this case, the event is Marvel's Infinity, Jonathan Hickman's sprawling space epic.
Well, it was billed as an event, but it's really more of a continuation of Hickman's work on Avengers and New Avengers, and it's the furthest thing from a jumping off point.
True, but as long as you know the backstory, Infinity is a fast-paced and very ambitious piece of storytelling. The plot revolves around Thanos, the mad titan, invading Earth, but at the same time, the Illuminati jump around the multiverse, finding out how far they're willing to go to avoid the end of the world.
Meanwhile, the Atlanteans wage a bloody war against the nation of Wakanda, and the Avengers wage their own war in space. So yeah, there's a lot going on, and it's maybe, for myself, a little too sketchy and rushed in some places plot-wise, but the art is extremely solid.
I know, I'm glad you brought that up because I cannot fault the visuals in this. Across the titles that make up the Infinity event, we have Jerome Opeña, Dustin Weaver, Leniel Francis Yu, and Mike Diodato, all doing fine work. But I think Jim Cheung has to take the prize with some majestic pencil work that brings those battle scenes really alive. Once I got over the intimidating scope of this story, I actually found myself massively engrossed, so I'm giving it a buy.
Well, look, while I'm always impressed by Hickman's dedication to telling big stories, this one did occasionally leave me feeling a bit on the outside looking in. And while there's no denying it's an impressive piece of work by all involved, it didn't quite hold me. So, call it a matter of personal taste, I'm going to give it a borrow.
Awesome. Finally, we have the trade paperback of a series that we actually first looked at about a year ago. I Love Trouble, written by Kel Simons with art by Mark A. Robinson. Now, cards on the table, I wanted to review pretty much every issue of this series because it's that awesome, so my rating is pretty much a foregone conclusion.
Well, let's keep them in completely fake suspense for a little while longer. Now, I Love Trouble is a gem of a book that manages to tread that line between hilarious and disturbing, focusing on a small-time con woman called Felicia who suddenly develops the ability to teleport and then falls in with organised crime, a shadowy corporation that turns her into an assassin, and an imaginary monkey. This series is a great example of tongue-in-cheek storycraft.
While Simons puts in the work creating credible and endearing characters, Robinson does fantastic work on art, with a style that's both bombastic and engaging. There are also numerous winks and in-jokes that will appeal to pop culture junkies.
My personal favourite was the doorways in the Mars Corporation offices, each of them bearing the name of a different, corrupt business, from Umbrella Corp to Tessia Ashpool. But you have to ask yourself, is this a superhero story? Is it a spy story? Is it a mob story?
The simple answer is yes.
Right.
This is one of the best comic series that unfortunately have been cancelled, and I'm giving it a buy. In case you hadn't already guessed that, I urge everyone to check this out.
Yeah, look, it is a real shame this didn't go further. I think Felicia definitely had a distance to go before she slept, but the trade collection is guaranteed fun. It's a buy from me.
Why do so many good series get cancelled?
You know what, we should probably look at that in our next segment.
I'll stick around then.
You were going to go somewhere?
I'm hungry.
But we've got a show to do.
But I want a sandwich. Yes, with cheese.
I thought that meant bum face.